I need $10,000 for prom. My sister Mallory's voice came through the phone with the kind of confidence that only an 18-year-old who had never been told no could manage. Not a request, not a question, a demand, delivered like she was ordering takeout. I sat at my desk in Portland, Oregon, staring at the spreadsheet on my screen while my phone pressed against my ear. Outside my window, the city hummed with afternoon traffic, oblivious to the absurdity happening in my life. "You need what for what?" I asked, certain I had misheard. $10,000 for prom. The dress I want is $3,000, and then there's hair, makeup, the limo, the after-party venue I'm renting, the photographer, and... Mallory, stop. I closed my laptop and rubbed my temples. You're talking about prom, not a wedding. Prom. It's my senior prom, Elizabeth. It's once in a lifetime. So is your high school graduation, your college graduation, your first job, and about 1,000 other milestones that don't require $10,000. There was a pause on the other end. I could practically hear her pouting. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm 27 years old. I work as a project manager at Cloudfen Construction, a mid-sized firm that builds commercial properties across the Pacific Northwest. I've worked my way up from an administrative assistant to where I am now, managing teams and overseeing multi-million-dollar projects. I'm good at my job. I'm proud of my job. And I earned every single promotion through late nights, extra courses, and sheer determination. But to my family, none of that matters. To them, I'm just the one with money. Elizabeth, you don't understand what it's like, Mallory whined. Everyone at school is going all out. I can't show up looking basic. Then get a job, I said simply. Work for it. Save up. That's what I did when I was your age. That's so unfair. You're being such a... I'm being realistic. $10,000 for one night is ridiculous, Mallory. You don't need that much. Whatever. I'll just tell Mom and Dad you said no. Her tone shifted, becoming sharp and pointed. They're not going to be happy. She hung up. I sat there for a moment, phone still in my hand, and felt the familiar knot forming in my stomach. It was the same feeling I got every time my family called. The same dread that settled over me whenever I saw their names pop up on my screen. Because I knew what was coming next. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my dad. Elizabeth, what's this I hear about you refusing to help your sister? I took a deep breath. Dad, she asked me for $10,000 for prom. That's not reasonable. She's your sister. Family helps family. I help all the time, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But this is too much. She doesn't need that kind of money for prom. You have the money, don't you? His voice was cold, accusatory. You make good money at that job of yours. You can afford it. That's not the point. The point is that you're being selfish, he interrupted. Your sister looks up to you. She deserves to have a special night. And you're going to deny her that? I opened my mouth to respond, but he kept going. You know, your mother and I raised you better than this. We taught you about family, about taking care of each other. But ever since you moved away and got that fancy job, you've changed. You've forgotten where you came from. My jaw tightened. I haven't forgotten anything. Then prove it. Transfer the money to the family account. Let your sister have her night. Dad. If you don't, then maybe you need to reconsider whether you want to be part of this family at all. The line went dead. I stared at my phone, my hands shaking. Reconsider whether I wanted to be part of the family? Was he seriously threatening to disown me over prom? I thought about calling him back, trying to reason with him, but I knew it would be pointless. This was how it always went. They asked for something. I said no. They guilt-tripped me, threatened me, manipulated me until I caved. And I always caved. Because despite everything, they were my family. My parents had raised me, fed me, put a roof over my head. And somewhere deep down, I felt like I owed them. Like I had to keep proving I was grateful. But $10,000 for prom? That was where I drew the line. I set my phone down and tried to refocus on work. But the conversation kept replaying in my mind. The way Mallory had spoken to me, like I was some kind of ATM. The way my dad had dismissed my concerns, turning it into a judgment of my character. I wondered if they had any idea how much I had already given. How many times I had bailed them out, covered their bills, funded their emergencies. Probably not. To them, I was just the daughter who made good money and should share it. I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. This wasn't over. I knew my mother would call next. And then Mallory again. And then the family group chat would explode with messages about how heartless I was being. It was always the same pattern. But this time, I told myself, this time, I wasn't going to give in. That evening, I sat on my couch with a glass of wine, trying to unwind after the chaos of the day. My apartment was small but cozy, decorated with plants and books, and the kind of quiet comfort I had built for myself. It was mine. A space where I didn't have to explain myself or justify my choices. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. I glanced at it and saw the notification. Family group chat. I should have left that chat years ago, but some misguided sense of obligation kept me there. I picked up the phone and opened the messages. Mom. Elizabeth. Your father told me what happened. I'm very disappointed in you. Mallory. She literally told me to get a job. Like, she's so rude. Mom. This is your sister's special night, Elizabeth. You need to step up. Dad. We're waiting for you to do the right thing. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening. They were ganging up on me. Again. I thought back to all the times I had stepped up. All the times I had transferred money to the family joint account without question. 3 years ago, when my dad lost his job and couldn't pay the mortgage for 2 months, I had covered it. $6,500, gone in an instant. He had promised to pay me back, but that promise evaporated as soon as he found another job. 2 years ago, when my mom's car broke down and she needed a new transmission. $3,200. I paid it. She thanked me once, then never mentioned it again. Last year, when Mallory wanted to go on a school trip to Europe. $4,000. I funded the entire thing because my parents said they couldn't afford it. She came back with hundreds of photos and stories about gelato in Rome, but not a single word of gratitude. And then there were the smaller things. The family dinners I paid for. The birthday gifts I bought for everyone. The groceries I ordered when my mom complained about how expensive everything was. I had kept a mental tally at first, thinking maybe someday they would acknowledge it, appreciate it, pay me back, even partially. But they never did. Instead, their expectations grew. Every time I helped, they assumed I would help again, and again, and again. The family joint account had been my dad's idea 5 years ago, back when I first got my job at Cloudfen Construction. He had suggested we all contribute to it, a shared safety net for emergencies, a way to support each other. We're a team, he had said. We take care of our own. I had agreed, thinking it was a good idea, thinking it would bring us closer. But I was the only one who ever deposited money into it. My parents never contributed. They said they were living paycheck to paycheck, barely scraping by. Mallory didn't have a job, so she couldn't contribute either. So it fell to me. Every month, I transferred a portion of my paycheck into that account. $500 here, $1,000 there. Sometimes more when they said they needed it. I told myself it was fine, that I was helping my family, that this was what family did. But somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling like helping. It started feeling like obligation, like I was being used. And now, after everything I had already given, they wanted $10,000 for prom. I scrolled through the family chat, watching the messages pile up. Mallory. Why is she even being like this? It's not like she needs the money. She makes bank. Mom. Elizabeth, you're hurting your sister. Is that what you want? Dad. Last chance to make this right. I felt the anger building in my chest, hot and tight. They didn't see me as a person. They didn't see the hours I worked, the stress I carried, the sacrifices I made. They saw a wallet. I set my phone down and stared at the ceiling, trying to calm myself. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call them and tell them exactly how I felt, to list every single thing I had done for them and ask why it was never enough. But I knew it wouldn't matter. They would twist it around, make me the villain, tell me I was being selfish, ungrateful, cruel. And part of me, some small, scared part of me, would believe them. Because that was the trick, wasn't it? They had spent years conditioning me to feel guilty for saying no, to feel like I owed them, to feel like my success was somehow theirs to claim. I thought about the joint account, the money sitting there, my money, my labor, my sacrifices. And I thought about how they treated it like it belonged to all of us, even though I was the only one who ever put anything into it. My phone buzzed again. Mom. If you don't help Mallory, don't bother coming home for the holidays. I felt something shift inside me. A line had been crossed. They were threatening to cut me out of the family, over prom, not over something serious, not over something life or death, over a party. I picked up my phone and typed a response, then deleted it. Typed another, then deleted that too. I didn't know what to say, didn't know how to make them understand. So I said nothing. I turned off my phone and sat in the silence of my apartment, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. Tomorrow, I told myself. Tomorrow I would figure out what to do. But tonight, I just needed to breathe. The next morning, I woke up to 37 missed calls and 62 text messages. I didn't even need to open them to know what they said. My family had clearly spent the night escalating, rallying each other, building their case against me. I made coffee, slow and deliberate, trying to ignore the buzzing of my phone on the counter. But eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I opened the family chat. Mallory. I can't believe she's doing this to me. My prom is ruined. Mom. Elizabeth. Answer your phone. We need to talk about this. Dad. You're making a huge mistake. Family comes first. Mallory. Everyone at school is going to laugh at me because my dress isn't expensive enough. Mom. You're being incredibly selfish. I didn't raise you to treat your sister this way. Dad. Final warning. Transfer the money or you're done with this family. I stared at that last message for a long time. Transfer the money or you're done with this family. It wasn't the first time they had threatened me, but it was the first time it felt so explicit, so transactional. Pay up or get out. I thought about all the times I had justified their behavior. Told myself they didn't mean it. Told myself they were just stressed, just struggling, just trying to make ends meet. But this wasn't about making ends meet. This was about Mallory wanting a $10,000 prom. And they were willing to disown me over it. I sat down at my kitchen table, phone in hand, and felt something inside me break. Not in a sad way, in a freeing way. Because suddenly, I realized something I should have realized years ago. They didn't see me as a daughter. They saw me as an ATM. I wasn't a person with feelings, with boundaries, with my own life. I was a source of money, a solution to their problems, a bank they could withdraw from whenever they wanted. And the worst part? I had let them. I had enabled this. I had said yes over and over, trained them to expect it, made myself available to be used. But not anymore. I opened my banking app and navigated to the family joint account. The balance stared back at me. $12,347. Every single cent of it was mine. I had deposited it all over the past 5 years. My parents had never once added to it. Mallory certainly hadn't. It was my money, my labor, my sacrifices, and they had treated it like a communal piggy bank. I thought about what would happen if I closed the account, the chaos it would cause, the anger, the accusations. They would call me selfish, heartless, a traitor. But they already thought that. They had already decided I was the villain for saying no to prom. So what did I have to lose? I hesitated for a moment, my finger hovering over the screen. Then I thought about the text my dad had sent. Transfer the money, or you're done with this family. And I made my decision. I transferred every single dollar out of the joint account and into my personal savings. Then I closed the account entirely. It took less than 2 minutes. My phone buzzed almost immediately. I knew the notifications had gone out. Knew they would see the account was empty. Closed. And I knew what was coming next. I set my phone on the table and watched the screen light up with incoming calls and messages. My heart was pounding, but I felt strangely calm. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control. The family chat exploded. Mom. Elizabeth. What did you do, Dad? Call me right now. Mallory. Are you serious right now? Mom. You closed the account? How could you do this? Dad. This is unacceptable. You're out of control. Mallory. I hate you. I read the messages with a strange sense of detachment. They were panicking, scrambling, realizing maybe for the first time that they couldn't just take from me anymore. My phone rang. My mom. I didn't answer. It rang again. My dad. I didn't answer. A text from Mallory. You're such a selfish bitch. I hope you're happy. Another from my mom. We gave you everything, and this is how you repay us? Another from my dad. You've made your choice. Don't come crying to us when you need help. I turned off my phone and sat in the silence. I thought about what my dad had said. Don't come crying to us when you need help. The irony was almost funny. I had never asked them for help. Not once. Not in my entire adult life. But they had asked me. Over and over. And I had given. Over and over. And now they were acting like I was the one who had betrayed them. I thought about calling them back, trying to explain. But I knew it wouldn't matter. They didn't want to understand. They wanted me to obey. So I didn't call. I got up, got dressed, and went to work. At my desk, I tried to focus on my tasks, but my mind kept drifting back to the morning's events. I wondered if I had done the right thing, if I was being too harsh. But then I remembered the messages, the threats, the entitlement, and I knew I had made the right choice. My coworker Bethany stopped by my desk around noon. She was in her mid-30s, sharp and kind, and one of the few people at the office I considered a friend. You okay? She asked, leaning against the cubicle wall. You seem distracted. I hesitated, then told her what had happened. She listened without interrupting, her expression shifting from surprise to disbelief to anger on my behalf. They threatened to disown you over prom, she said when I finished. That's insane. I know. And you were the only one putting money in that account? Yeah. Then you did the right thing, she said firmly. They were using you. Hearing someone else say it made it feel more real, more valid. Thanks, I said quietly. She smiled. You're going to be okay. And honestly, they'll realize how much they need you soon enough. I hoped she was right. But deep down, I wasn't sure they would. By the time I got home that evening, the The family chat had blown up to over 200 messages. I didn't read them. I didn't need to. I could imagine exactly what they said. But I did turn my phone back on, and within seconds, it started ringing. My mom. Against my better judgment, I answered. Elizabeth, what were you thinking? Her voice was shrill, panicked. You closed the account. How could you do that? I closed my account, I corrected. The money in it was mine. It was the family account. We all needed that money. You all needed my money, I said, my voice flat. Not once did you or Dad or Mallory contribute to it. Not once. That's not fair. We couldn't afford to. You know that. Then maybe you shouldn't have been spending it like it was yours. There was a pause. I could hear her breathing, sharp and angry. This is about Mallory, isn't it? She said finally. You're punishing her because she asked for help. She didn't ask for help. She demanded $10,000 for prom. That's not help. That's entitlement. She's your sister. And I'm your daughter, I snapped. But you don't seem to care about that. You only care about what I can give you. That's not true. Really. When was the last time you asked me how I was doing? When was the last time you cared about my life, my job, my feelings? When was the last time you said thank you for everything I've done? Silence. Exactly, I said. You don't see me as a person. You see me as a bank. Elizabeth, you're being ridiculous. Am I? You threatened to disown me because I wouldn't pay for prom. We didn't mean... Yes, you did. Dad said it very clearly. Transfer the money or I'm done with the family. More silence. Look, my mom said, her voice softening, trying a different approach. I know we've asked a lot of you, but we're family. We're supposed to help each other. I have helped, I said. For years I've helped. I paid Dad's mortgage when he lost his job. I paid for your car repairs. I paid for Mallory's Europe trip. I've paid for dinners, gifts, groceries, emergencies. I've given you everything you've asked for. And we appreciate... No, you don't. You take it for granted. You expect it. And the moment I say no, you turn on me. We're not turning on you. Then what do you call threatening to cut me out of the family? She didn't answer. I'm done, Mom, I said quietly. I'm done being your ATM. I'm done feeling guilty for having boundaries. I'm done sacrificing my own financial security for people who don't appreciate it. Elizabeth, please. No. I'm setting a boundary. And if you can't respect that, then maybe Dad was right. Maybe I don't belong in this family. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I felt a strange sense of relief. I had said it. I had finally stood up for myself, and even though I knew there would be consequences, I didn't regret it. Over the next few days, the messages continued. My dad called me selfish and ungrateful. Mallory sent paragraphs about how I had ruined her life. My mom tried guilt-tripping me, then begging, then threatening. But I didn't respond. I didn't engage. I just let them spiral. At work, I threw myself into my projects, grateful for the distraction. Bethany checked in on me regularly, offering support and reminding me that I had done nothing wrong. They'll come around, she said one afternoon over coffee. Or they won't. Either way, you'll be fine. I wanted to believe her, but part of me wondered if I had just blown up my entire family over $10,000. Then, 1 week after I closed the account, something happened that changed everything. I was at home, cooking dinner, when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, but it was local, so I answered. Hello? Hey, Elizabeth, it's Kelsey. Kelsey? Mallory's best friend. Oh, hi, I said, confused. What's up? I just wanted to call and say I'm really sorry about everything that's been happening, she said. I know your family has been giving you a hard time. That's nice of you to say. But why are you calling? Because I heard what Mallory said, and I thought you should know. My stomach dropped. What did she say? Kelsey hesitated. We were at her house a few days ago, planning prom stuff, and she was on the phone with some guy, talking about how she was going to get the money from you no matter what. What do you mean? She said, and I quote, Eliza won't say no if Mom pressures her enough. I've been draining her dry for years. This is just the grand finale. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. She said that? Yeah. And she laughed about it, like it was funny. I sank onto the couch, phone pressed to my ear, trying to process what I was hearing. I'm really sorry, Elizabeth, Kelsey said. I know she's my friend, but that was messed up. You didn't deserve that. I just thought you should know the truth. Thank you, I managed to say. Really. Thank you for telling me. After we hung up, I sat there in stunned silence. Mallory had been planning this. Not just the prom request, but everything. She had been using me deliberately, knowingly, with full awareness of what she was doing. And my parents had enabled it. I thought about all the times I had given in, convinced myself it was for the good of the family, convinced myself that they needed me. But they hadn't needed me. They had used me. And Mallory had been laughing about it the whole time. Something inside me snapped. Not in an emotional way, in a cold, calculated way. Because now I knew the truth, and I was done playing their game. I picked up my phone and opened the family chat. I hadn't looked at it in days, but now I scrolled through the messages, reading their increasingly desperate pleas. Mom. Elizabeth, we need to talk. The mortgage is due. Dad. The account was supposed to cover utilities. What are we supposed to do now? Mallory. I had to tell everyone at school I can't afford my prom dress. Thanks a lot. I read every word, feeling nothing but cold resolve. They had gambled on my guilt, on my loyalty, on my inability to say no. And they had lost. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in years. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I spent the day organizing my finances, reviewing my bank statements, documenting every single transfer I had made to the family account over the past 5 years. The total came to $73,412. I stared at the number, feeling a mix of shock and anger. I had given them over $70,000, and they had treated it like pocket change. I made copies of everything: receipts, bank statements, transaction histories. I wanted a record, not because I planned to demand repayment, but because I wanted proof. Evidence that I hadn't been selfish or cruel. Evidence that I had given more than anyone should have to give. Then I called my Aunt Joanna. Joanna was my mom's older sister, and the only member of my extended family I still spoke to regularly. She lived in Seattle, about a 3-hour drive from Portland, and we met up every few months for lunch. She was the kind of person who told it like it was. No sugarcoating, no manipulation, just honesty. Hey, kiddo, she said when she answered. What's going on? I need to talk to you about something, I said. It's about my parents. Oh boy, what did they do now? I told her everything. The prom demand, the threats, the joint account, the phone call from Kelsey. When I finished, there was a long pause. Elizabeth, she said finally, I'm so sorry. I had no idea it was that bad. Did you know they were using me? I knew they leaned on you financially, she admitted, but I didn't realize the extent of it, or that they were threatening you. They said I'm selfish, that I'm forgetting where I came from. Joanna made a noise of disgust. That's rich, coming from them. You know what? I'm glad you closed that account. You should have done it years ago. You think I did the right thing? Absolutely. They were bleeding you dry, Elizabeth, and your sister sounds like a spoiled brat. Hearing her say it so bluntly was weirdly comforting. Do you think they'll ever understand? I asked. Honestly, probably not. People like that don't change. They'll blame you, play the victim, and move on to the next person they can manipulate. That's depressing. It's realistic, she said gently. But you know what? You're free now. You don't have to keep carrying them. You can live your own life. I thought about that. Living my own life. It sounded so simple, but it felt revolutionary. Thanks, Joanna, I said. I needed to hear that. Anytime, kiddo. And if you need anything, you let me know. After we hung up, I felt lighter. Like someone had finally validated what I had been feeling all along. That night, I decided to check the family chat one last time. The messages had shifted in tone. They weren't just angry anymore. They were panicking. Mom. Elizabeth, please. The mortgage is overdue. We're going to lose the house. Dad. I don't know what we're going to do. We counted on that money. Mallory. I had to cancel my prom plans. Everyone thinks I'm a loser now. I read the messages, and for the first time, I felt no guilt, because Kelsey's words kept echoing in my head. I've been draining her dry for years. This is just the grand finale. They weren't panicking because they cared about me. They were panicking because they had lost access to my money. I typed out a response, then deleted it. Typed another, then deleted that too. Finally, I settled on something simple. Elizabeth. I've given you over $73,000 in the past 5 years. I have records of every transaction. I didn't owe you any of it, but I gave it because I thought that's what family did. I was wrong. You didn't see me as family. You saw me as an ATM. I'm done. Don't contact me again. I hit send and immediately left the group chat. My phone exploded with calls and texts within seconds, but I blocked all of them. My mom, my dad, Mallory, blocked. I turned off my phone and sat in the silence of my apartment, feeling the weight of the decision settle over me. I had just cut off my entire family, and I had no regrets. The next few weeks were strange. I kept expecting to feel sad, guilty, conflicted, but I didn't. Instead, I felt free. I didn't have to check my phone every 5 minutes, dreading another request for money. I didn't have to justify my spending or defend my boundaries. I didn't have to carry the weight of their expectations. I started doing things I hadn't done in years. I went out with coworkers after work. I joined a book club. I took a weekend trip to the coast just because I wanted to. And I saved money. For the first time in my adult life, I was actually building savings. Real savings. Not a joint account that would disappear the moment someone else decided they needed it. Bethany noticed the change. You seem happier, she said one day over lunch. Lighter. I feel lighter, I admitted. It's like I didn't realize how much they were weighing me down until I let go. Good for you, she said. You deserve to be happy. I smiled. Thanks. But of course it wasn't over. Because my family wasn't the type to go quietly. One evening, about 3 weeks after I had blocked them, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find my mom standing there, looking tired and worn. Elizabeth, she said, we need to talk. I sighed. How did you get my address? You're my daughter. Of course I know where you live. What do you want? Can I come in? No. Her face fell. Please. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Talk, I said. I'm sorry, she said. For everything. I didn't realize how much we were asking of you. I didn't realize how unfair it was. I crossed my arms. You didn't realize? Or you didn't care? Both, maybe, she admitted. I got used to having you as a safety net, and I took advantage of that. And Dad? Mallory? She hesitated. Your father is stubborn. He thinks you're being dramatic. And Mallory, she trailed off. Mallory is young. She doesn't understand. She understood enough to tell her friends she was draining me dry. My mom's eyes widened. What? You heard me? She told her friend she'd been using me for years, and that prom was just the grand finale. I didn't know. Of course you didn't, because you never asked. None of you ever asked how I felt or what I needed. You just took. I'm sorry, she said again, and this time there were tears in her eyes. But I didn't feel moved. I felt numb. I appreciate you coming here, I said, but I'm not changing my mind. I'm done being your ATM. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be on my terms, and that means no more money, ever. She nodded slowly. Okay. I mean it, Mom. No guilt trips, no emergencies, no exceptions. I understand. We stood there for a moment, the weight of everything hanging between us. I'll think about it, I said finally, but I need time. She nodded again and turned to leave. I watched her walk away, feeling a strange mix of emotions. But mostly, I felt strong. The fallout continued over the next few months, but I held firm. My dad never apologized. He sent one email, full of accusations and blame, calling me ungrateful and selfish. I deleted it without responding. Mallory sent a few texts, mostly angry and bitter. I blocked her number. My mom tried a few more times, but I kept my boundaries. We eventually settled into an uneasy truce where we exchanged occasional texts, but nothing more. And honestly, I was okay with that. Because what I realized, in those quiet months after I cut them off, was that I had been living for them. My entire adult life had been shaped by their needs, their expectations, their demands, and I had lost myself in the process. But now, I was finding myself again. At work, I threw myself into a major project, a new commercial complex on the outskirts of Portland. It was the biggest project I had ever managed, and I poured everything into it. My boss, a no-nonsense woman named Patricia, noticed. "You're doing great work, Elizabeth," she said during a review meeting. "I'm impressed." "Thank you," I said, feeling a swell of pride. "In fact," she continued, "I'm recommending you for a promotion. Senior Project Manager. It comes with a significant raise and more responsibility." I blinked, stunned. "Really?" "Really. You've earned it." I left that meeting feeling like I was floating. A promotion. A raise. Recognition for my work. It was everything I had been working toward. And for the first time, I didn't have to share it. Didn't have to worry about my family expecting a cut. Didn't have to brace myself for the inevitable request for money. It was just mine. That weekend, I went to dinner with Bethany and a few other coworkers to celebrate. We went to a nice restaurant downtown, the kind of place I used to avoid because I was always worried about money. But now, I didn't have to worry. I ordered the most expensive thing on the menu and enjoyed every bite. "Cheers to Elizabeth," Bethany said, raising her glass. "The newest senior project manager at Cloudfen Construction." Everyone clinked glasses, and I felt a warmth spread through me that had nothing to do with the wine. This was what life was supposed to feel like. Celebrated, supported, free. But of course, the universe had one more curveball to throw at me. A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Elizabeth, it's Mallory." I froze. "How did you get this number?" "I'm calling from a friend's phone," she said. Please don't hang up. I sighed. What do you want? I wanted to say I'm sorry. I waited, not trusting it. I was a brat, she continued. I took advantage of you, and I said some really horrible things. Yeah, you did. I didn't mean them, or I don't know. Maybe I did at the time. But I was wrong. What brought this on? I asked. She hesitated. Mom and Dad have been struggling. Like, really struggling. And I realized how much you were doing for us. How much we depended on you. And I'm sorry. I know it's not enough, but I wanted you to know. I thought about hanging up, about telling her it was too little, too late. But something in her voice sounded genuine. I appreciate the apology, I said finally. But that doesn't change anything. I know. I'm not giving you money anymore. Not for prom. Not for anything. I know, she said again. And I'm not asking for it. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. We sat in silence for a moment. How's prom going? I asked, surprising myself. I'm not going, she said quietly. I couldn't afford it. Good. Good? Yeah. Maybe you'll learn something from it. She laughed, a small bitter sound. Maybe. Look, Mallory, I said. I don't hate you, but I'm not going back to the way things were. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be different. It has to be equal. Okay? I mean it. I know. And I'll try. After we hung up, I sat there, phone in hand, feeling a strange mix of emotions. I didn't know if Mallory would actually change. I didn't know if my parents would ever understand. But for the first time, I didn't feel like it was my responsibility to fix them. They had to fix themselves. And I had to focus on me. That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about everything that had happened. The phone call demanding $10,000. The threats. The joint account. The moment I had finally stood up for myself. It had been terrifying, heartbreaking, liberating. And I wouldn't take any of it back. Because I had learned something important. Something I should have learned years ago. Family isn't supposed to drain you. Family isn't supposed to take and take and take until there's nothing left. Real family supports you, respects you, values you. And if they can't do that, then maybe they're not your family at all. I thought about Joanna, who had supported me without question. About Bethany, who had been there through every step of this mess. About Patricia, who had recognized my hard work and rewarded it. Those were my people, my real family, and I was grateful for them. I closed my eyes and thought about the future, about the promotion I had earned, the savings I was building, the life I was finally living for myself. And for the first time in years, I felt truly, deeply happy. The joint account was closed. The guilt was gone. The weight was lifted. I had chosen myself. And it was the best decision I had ever made. The months that followed were a revelation. I hadn't realized how much mental energy I had been spending on my family until I wasn't spending it anymore. Without the constant worry about their next request, without the guilt of saying no, without the weight of their expectations, I felt like a different person. I threw myself into work with a renewed focus. The promotion to senior project manager came with new challenges, but I welcomed them. I was managing larger teams, bigger budgets, more complex projects, and I was thriving. Patricia pulled me aside one afternoon, a few months into my new role. Elizabeth, I wanted to check in with you, she said. How are you finding the transition? It's been great, I said honestly. Challenging, but great. She smiled. You're doing excellent work. I'm glad we promoted you. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. You earned it, she said. And I just want you to know, if you ever need support or guidance, My door is always open. I felt a warmth in my chest. This was what it felt like to be valued. Not for what I could give, but for who I was and what I contributed. Thank you, I said again. That means a lot. Outside of work, I continued building my life. I started taking a pottery class on Saturday mornings. It was something I had always wanted to try but never had the time or money for. Now, I had both. I also started dating. Nothing serious, just casual coffee dates and dinners with people I met through apps or friends. It was fun, low pressure. A reminder that I could have a life outside of work and family drama. One evening, Bethany invited me to a small dinner party at her place. It was just a handful of coworkers and their partners, and I almost didn't go. Social events had always made me anxious, but I decided to push myself out of my comfort zone. The party was lovely. Good food, good wine, good conversation. I found myself laughing more than I had in months, trading stories with people who actually cared about what I had to say. At one point, Bethany pulled me aside. "I'm really proud of you," she said. "You've come so far since everything happened with your family." "Thanks," I said. "I couldn't have done it without you." "You absolutely could have," she said, "but I'm glad I could be there." We hugged, and I felt grateful for her friendship. As the weeks turned into months, I started to notice something interesting. My family had stopped reaching out. After Mallory's apology call, there had been a few more attempts from my mom. But when I held firm on my boundaries, she eventually stopped trying. I wondered if they had found someone else to lean on, or if they had finally learned to stand on their own. Either way, it wasn't my problem anymore. And that realization was freeing. One Saturday afternoon, I was at the farmer's market, picking up fresh vegetables and flowers, when I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. "Elizabeth?" I turned to see a familiar face. Logan, an old college friend. "Logan? Oh my gosh, hi," I said, genuinely surprised. We hugged, and he grinned. "It's been forever. What are you doing in Portland?" "I live here," I said. "I work for Cloudfen Construction." "No way. I just moved here for work. I'm at Sundale Financial." We spent the next hour catching up over coffee at a nearby cafe. He was funny, smart, easy to talk to. And by the time we parted ways, we had exchanged numbers and made plans to have dinner the following week. As I walked home, I felt a lightness in my step. Life was good, really good. And I had gotten here by choosing myself. The promotion had boosted my income significantly, and I was finally able to save in a way I never had before. I opened a retirement account. I started a small investment portfolio. I even began researching trips I wanted to take, places I had always dreamed of visiting but never thought I could afford. For the first time, I was planning a future that was entirely mine. But in the back of my mind, I knew the situation with my family wasn't truly over, because closure, I was learning, didn't always come from a single conversation or decision. Sometimes, it came in waves, and the next wave was about to hit. One evening, as I was cooking dinner, my phone rang. It was Joanna. "Hey," I said, putting her on speaker. "What's up?" "I wanted to give you a heads up," she said. "I just got off the phone with your mom." My stomach tightened. "What did she want?" "She's been asking me for money," Joanna said. "Apparently they're in a really bad spot financially. The mortgage is months behind and they're at risk of foreclosure." I felt a pang of something. Not guilt, exactly, but maybe sympathy. "What did you tell her?" I asked. "I told her no," Joanna said firmly. "I'm not enabling them the way you did, and I wanted you to know in case they try to reach out to you again." "Thanks for the warning." "Are you okay?" I thought about it. Was I okay? "Yeah," I said. "I am. It's sad, but it's not my problem to fix." "Good," Joanna said. "Because it's not." They made their choices. After we hung up, I stood in my kitchen, stirring a pot of pasta, thinking about my parents. Part of me wanted to help them. Old habits died hard. But the smarter, stronger part of me knew better. They had treated me like an ATM for years. And now, they were facing the consequences of their choices. I couldn't save them, and I wouldn't try. A few weeks later, I got another surprise. I was at work, reviewing blueprints for a new project, when my phone buzzed with a notification. It was an email from my dad. I stared at it for a long moment, debating whether to open it. Finally, curiosity got the better of me. The email was short. Subject: We need to talk. Elizabeth, I know you don't want to hear from me, but I'm reaching out because we're in serious trouble. The bank is foreclosing on the house. We have 60 days to come up with the back payments or we lose everything. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm asking for a loan. I'll pay you back, I promise. But we need help. Please. Dad. I read it twice, then closed it. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was just tired. Tired of the manipulation. Tired of the desperation. Tired of being seen as a solution to their problems. I didn't respond. That evening, Bethany and I met for drinks after work. I told her about the email. What are you going to do? She asked. Nothing, I said. I'm not responding. Good. He doesn't deserve a response. I know, I said. But part of me feels guilty, like maybe I should help. Why? Bethany asked. They never helped you. They used you. I know. Then let them deal with the consequences. I nodded, knowing she was right. Over the next few weeks, I got a few more emails from my dad, each one more desperate than the last. Then, one day, I got a call from Mallory. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Elizabeth, she said, her voice shaking. Please don't hang up. What do you want, Mallory? We're losing the house, she said. We have to move out in 2 weeks, and I don't know where we're going to go. I felt a flicker of sympathy, but I pushed it down. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. But there's nothing I can do. You could help us, she said. You have the money. It's my money, I said, and I'm not giving it to you. You're so selfish, she shouted. You're letting us become homeless. No, I said firmly. You're becoming homeless because your parents didn't manage their finances. That's not my fault. You could stop it. I could, I agreed. But I won't, because I've already given you more than I should have, and you didn't appreciate it. You used me, and now you're facing the consequences. She was crying now. Elizabeth, please, I'm scared. Then tell Mom and Dad to figure it out, I said. Get a second job, sell the car, downsize. Do what millions of other people do when they can't afford their lifestyle. You're heartless. No, I said. I'm just done being your ATM. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt strong, resolved. They weren't my responsibility. They never had been. A week later, Joanna called again. They lost the house, she said. They moved into a small apartment across town. Your mom called me, crying, saying you could have stopped it. I could have, I said, but I didn't. Good, Joanna said. They needed a wake-up call. Do you think they'll ever understand? Honestly, probably not, but that's not your problem. She was right. It wasn't my problem. Around the same time, my relationship with Logan had been progressing. We had been on several dates, and I found myself genuinely enjoying his company. He was kind, funny, and most importantly, he didn't ask me for money or expect me to solve his problems. One evening, over dinner, he asked me about my family. We're not close, I said simply. That's okay, he said. Family can be complicated. That's an understatement. He smiled. Do you want to talk about it? I hesitated, then told him the whole story. The joint account, the demands, the threats, the decision to cut them off. He listened without interrupting, and when I finished, he reached across the table and took my hand. You did the right thing, he said. You think so? Absolutely. No one should use you like that. Family or not. I felt tears prick my eyes. Thank you. For what? For seeing me. For valuing me. He squeezed my hand. You're worth valuing. In that moment, I realized something important. I had spent so many years trying to prove my worth to my family, trying to earn their love and appreciation. But I didn't have to prove anything. Not to them. Not to anyone. I was enough, just as I was. And the people who mattered would see that. The next few months were some of the happiest of my life. Work was fulfilling. My friendships were strong. My relationship with Logan was growing. And I was finally, truly free. I still thought about my family sometimes, wondered how they were doing, hoped, in some small way, that they were okay. But I didn't feel guilty anymore. I had made my choice, and I was living with it. And they had made their choices, and they were living with them too. That was how life worked. 6 months after I closed the joint account, I received one final message from my family. It was from my mom, sent via email because I had blocked her phone number. Subject: I'm sorry, Elizabeth. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to read this. But I needed to say it anyway. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the way we treated you, for taking advantage of your generosity, for making you feel like you owed us something when you didn't. You were right. We used you, and we didn't appreciate you. And now we're paying the price. Your father and I are struggling, but we're managing. We had to downsize, and it's been hard, but we're learning to live within our means. Mallory got a part-time job. It's not much, but it's something. I don't know if you'll ever want to talk to us again, but I wanted you to know that I understand why you don't. I hope you're happy, Elizabeth. You deserve to be. Love, Mom. I read the email 3 times, feeling a mix of emotions. Relief, sadness, closure. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need to. The apology was enough. Not to rebuild the relationship, but to let me know that maybe, just maybe, they were finally understanding what they had done. That evening, I went for a walk along the waterfront. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. The air was cool and crisp, and I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I thought about the past year, the chaos, the pain, the freedom, and I thought about the future, the possibilities, the choices I could make now that I was no longer tied to their expectations. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. The balance in my savings account was higher than it had ever been. And it was all mine. I smiled. I had chosen myself. And that choice had changed everything. As I walked, I thought about the night they had threatened to disown me. The night I had closed the joint account. I had been terrified, heartbroken, unsure if I was making the right decision. But now, looking back, I knew I had. Because that night, I had stopped being their ATM. And I had started being my own person. I had set boundaries. I had protected my peace. I had chosen my own well-being over their comfort. And I had never slept better. Over the next few weeks, life continued to unfold in beautiful ways. Logan and I had grown closer, and we were talking about moving in together. My career was flourishing, and I had just been offered an even bigger project at work. And I had started planning a trip to Italy, something I had dreamed of for years, but never thought I could afford. One evening, Bethany and I were having dinner at my apartment when she raised her glass. To Elizabeth, she said. the woman who finally learned to put herself first. I laughed and clinked my glass against hers. To me. Seriously, though, she said. I'm so proud of you. You've come so far. Thanks, I said. I couldn't have done it without you. You could have, she said, but I'm glad I could be there. As we sat there, eating and laughing, I felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for Bethany, but for everyone who had supported me. Joanna, Patricia, Logan, even Kelsey, Mallory's friend, who had warned me about what was really going on. They had reminded me that I deserved better, and they had helped me believe it. A few weeks later, I got a text from Mallory. Mallory, I got a job at the coffee shop near school. It's not much, but I'm trying. I stared at the message for a long time, then replied, Elizabeth. That's great, Mallory. I'm proud of you. Mallory, thanks. I'm sorry for everything. Elizabeth, I know. Take care of yourself. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a step, and maybe that was enough. Looking back on everything that had happened, I realized that closing the joint account had been the best decision I had ever made, not because it had hurt my family, but because it had freed me. For years, I had been living for them, working for them, sacrificing for them. But now, I was living for me, and it felt incredible. As the months passed, I learned to let go of the guilt, to stop worrying about whether they were okay, to trust that they would figure it out, just like everyone else had to. And slowly, I started to rebuild. Not my relationship with them, but my relationship with myself. I learned to value my time, my energy, my money. I learned to say no without feeling guilty. I learned to prioritize my own happiness. And I learned that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Because if you don't choose yourself, no one else will. In the end, my parents lost the house they had lived in for 20 years. They moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment on the outskirts of Portland, far from the neighborhood they had once been so proud of. My dad took on extra shifts at a warehouse job, and my mom started working part-time at a grocery store. Mallory, forced to grow up quickly, balanced school with her coffee shop job, learning for the first time what it meant to earn her own money. The entitled girl who had once demanded $10,000 for prom was gone, replaced by someone who finally understood the value of $1. They never asked me for money again, and I never offered. As for me, I continued building the life I had always deserved. I traveled, I thrived at work, and I surrounded myself with people who valued me for who I was, not what I could give them. The revenge I had taken wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet and powerful. I had simply chosen myself, and that choice had set me free. Looking back, I realized that the moment I closed that joint account and slept like a baby was the moment I truly became my own person.